JB here, JB here. Hope everyone's doing outstanding. Wednesday, July 23rd, 323. This fine afternoon. Google Tesla earnings afternoon, I guess you would call it. S&P is up, all-time highs, 7 tenths of 7 tenths of a percent to the upside. And then you have small caps leading the charge again, up over 1%. I didn't, 1.3%. And then the NASDAQ, which was red earlier, into the green. Just remarkable stuff. So we had the Japan deals yesterday. Then you have EU and US 15% tariffs. So you have kind of the backdrop of all those, I guess, concerns, right? And now you got to look to the big fish to fry, which would be Canada and Mexico, and then you have to assume that it's those tariffs going to work out to probably be around the same 15% or so. So I mean, after that, then the rest is kind of like piecemeal, right? Little deals with countries that don't have as much a uh, not the largest trading partners. So once the largest trading partners are out of the way, then we can start to move on to other things. And who knows what the next wall of worry or headwind is for markets, right? I mean, the Powell situation is still front and center. Fed meeting, I think, is next Wednesday. So the Fed's not going to cut rates pending anything crazy, and then there's just going to be more back and forth. Just would not be a good thing. I don't want to see him resign. Just do your term. Hopefully, you folks can appease Trump and say, "Hey, here's your next get your Fed shares ready. Say this is your Fed share, and then let Powell just run his course." I hope that doesn't escalate anything anyway. But just good news when I think the market kind of was like on the cusp. Like if there was no catalyst or no news today, I could see it melting, right? And we were under 630 for a while in the morning, got to 629 and change at about 9:45. And then we were just chopping around. Then we got the news right around the noon hour, and then all systems go. So, I keep saying the higher we go, the probability of some pull. I mean, that's common sense. I mean, I'm Captain Obvious here. Hello, Captain. Here's your captain speaking. The higher we go, the larger the probability of some big pull coming, right? But I mean, it could be at 640 on the spot. It could be at 650, right? So to sit here and try and time it, I mean, people who try to try and time swings like that are just you lose your butt, right? So you play the trend, you have a plan in place just in case there is a pullback, and that's how I continue to do it. So also I have the chart here again. It looks like we're gonna be 61 days or so above the 20-day moving average on the S&P. So again, a historically great performance. And then the SPY. So I saw 636 to 621. It looks like we're gonna get 636 possibly, but all eyes are on Tesla, Google, IBM, Chipotle, ServiceNow after the close. You have to, I keep saying about this negativity, and I think there was a lot more negativity into Tesla last quarter, but I think it's still there, right? And I don't know how much impact that'll have on the markets, but like I said, Tesla's a large weighting on the S&P. So if Tesla gets destroyed, obviously the S&P is going to be in bad shape tomorrow. And then Google, right? To me, it's like, yeah, I mean, Google can have a huge disappointment, but I mean, they're buffered by cloud stuff. They're buffered by other initiatives outside the search, the YouTube, obviously. And so I think even if there's some concern around the search biz, I think I'm not saying it's gonna soar or rally, but it's just, and the thing with Google and some of these mega cap names and all the mega cap names, the Mag 7 are pretty much flat today outside of Meta, Microsoft, App. Well, is Apple up? I didn't even pull up Apple today because like Apple's just been stuck in a quagmire. Yeah, pretty much flat as a pancake today. But the thing with a lot of these companies, back in the day with Google before the split and the dual class structure and all that fun stuff, they weren't doing any returning value to shareholders via buybacks, dividends, any of that stuff, right? And then all of a sudden, now they're like massively buying back stocks. Similar, Apple pretty much has the blueprint, right? I don't know how much UPB has posted many times about how much less the share count is of Apple. So even if Apple's business doesn't grow, its EPS is going to grow leaps and bounds just because of the amount of shares that have been bought back by the company. And on a side note, IBM, right? IBM reports after the close. Another company that kind of manufactured their earnings. I'm not saying Google manufactures their earnings. Billions of dollars in profits is not manufactured, but it certainly helps ease some misses, right? So we'll see how it plays out. I hope no huge surprises, right? Even if there's weak numbers, people are going to say, I told you so on Google. Maybe it sells off and bounces. Tesla, right? Same thing. Big miss. Oh, told you so. And then probably bounces. That would be the worst case scenario. But hopefully in line, decent numbers, and Mark can kind of march along tomorrow. So that's that. So then individual names, and first I'll start with RH. I mean, it was under 200 bucks yesterday before the open. I think it was under 200. Was it 197? I have to pull that up because I don't have it on my handy dandy daily chart. 194.70 is what it opened yesterday. And here it is at 222.30. I got those 225 strikes, closed some out to cover some costs yesterday. One was over 210. And then it was a gap and go today. And it was stuck at 220, 220, then 218. Then boom, 223. Locks some more of the calls in. And I don't have a ton, so I don't want to be in a spot and it's been volatile. So I figured, if it gets to 230, I'll probably close the rest. But closing off close to 300%, and they're still holding up. The premiums are pretty much right where I sold them this morning. So that's a good sign. Won't take much, right? Another 2 or 3% move is 300 bucks, 230, and those calls are up substantial. So nice weekly trade. Happy to have that one at the open. And then edit, right? So edit continue. I don't know how many days in a row is it. 1, 2, 3, just a fourth session in a row. It's not up much today. It's up 2%, but it seems like premiums are creeping into the call, especially to January. So I was looking at, I got those January strikes, right? It was a uh, kind of like one of those trades that you're worried that you're going to stare at a losing trade into next year, right? If it goes the wrong direction, there's a miss, there's some kind of catalyst, and then you're staring at a bidless option. It's not just like one of the things that it's I said it yesterday. It's like water torture. It's like you're just watching it. But actually, I mean, they're only up 10% to January's, but all the strikes are green. It's only up 2%. But I used the move to close some of those January strikes out just to cover costs, and now I can pretty much ride freebies on the rest. And then I'm almost on the fence of adding some closer strikes, maybe the September $5 calls on strength, but maybe I'll wait till tomorrow. Just like the story, I keep talking about $260 million market cap, 200 million in cash. You got that gene editing space has a floor in it, and you take a look at a name like Edit, it's over that 330 handle, which was a key spot back in February. I think higher, onward and upward, right? So thankful to get some out there, take some of the risk off, and kind of hold fear free, right? That that there's some kind of negative catalyst. I don't think that's the case, but you don't know, right? And then that brings me to Cardlytics. And Cardlytics was running after the close yesterday, all the way up to 370 as on the meme craze, right? And then this morning opened at 3, then turned around, and boom, next thing you know, it's uh, like momentum waned, right? There were no buyers. It just kind of chopped around, but it was holding up. Considering, I mean, the stock's up like 85% this week, and it was only down like 2 or 3% at the lows. And then it started to bounce. And here it is up nearly 10%, up to $3.15. My August strikes are up like 300%. At some point, I was looking maybe before the end of the day. I mean, there's a half hour left. I might just close the rest of the August out and then maybe look for some other strikes. I keep talking about the story. If you just take a look at it at a revenue basis, a company that does decent revenues, like and it's a decent story. Usually, typically, especially in the fintech sector, right? It's kind of like a niche name. You would think Cardlytics would deserve higher multiples. If it trades at just 1 times revenue, it's a $5.50 stock, right? I mean, the company has like 70 million cash. They do have debt, like 220 million, but they did offerings, and Clifford Sozen, who's over an 11% beneficial owner of the company, he owns 11% of the stock. He owns a lot of that debt. So when they did offerings, he actually did off the balance sheet offerings. I don't know, it was last year. I have to go and look back. But anyway, to me, when you look at that, I'm like, I think it's worth at least $5, right? So on that premise alone, that's why I'll continue to look for opportunities to trade for upside. And then you have to think as the meme craze goes and people look and see names like this pop up on the radar or start doing due diligence and say, wow, this name might go substantially higher, right? And back in February's 350, back last year was substantially higher in double digits. So not saying that's where it's going, but do like it, do like the risk reward. All right, so that's Cardlytics. And then you look at those areas. I think it was 471 and 625. I have to go and look. But there's gap fills, right? So these are the gaps from back last summer. And yeah, those would be key areas. Let me see if I post it. There we go. Well, I don't know why it's not doing that. There it goes. Okay. So that's Cardlytics. And then JOBY, take a look today, up 5%. My October calls are back over $2. That's a good thing. I'll just hold the last few of those. And then, it's going to be a bumpy ride. And it continues to be bumpy. 15s yesterday, 1660 today before bouncing. You had JOBY company's Twitter page post, great to host. What did they say? Great. Let me see if I think I posted in the chat room. Did I post in the chat room? Great to host the secretary I guess, of Aviation, Secretary Duffy, was it Transportation Secretary? We discussed how they'll expand mobility, unlocking immense economic power across the U.S. in the years ahead. Blah 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 blah. All right. So hey, anything that bodes well for the company, I like. So that was today. Sets Joby still like this one. I'm still gonna kind of like sit on my hands. I don't want it to pull, but if it does, that's when I'll add some more strikes. Um, and then Serve Robotics, right? The highs here was 1175 just a little while ago. Continuation from yesterday, nearly over 6%. At some point I'll add some more strikes there as well. And then VKTX reports earnings after the close today. It was over 34 bucks. Again, I'm not sitting here hoping for it. It's not like an earnings trade, right? It's sitting up here about 5%. It's a update on studies play for earnings, update on their financial position, how much cash they have, cash flow, path to to the next offering, and then on the other side, hopefully when they give out their updates, it doesn't give an update on the oral data and push that back, right? Those would be that to me the bull scenario would be some kind of positive updates on some of their studies, and then saying, "Oh, I'm still on track to release data in the back half of this year." Meaning, it's probably going to be out August, like start of August or next week, right? Um, and I think that's when they reported the last oral GLP-1 data back in the spring of last year. I think it was like a week after their earnings. So also of note, not saying that, of course, you're not looking at them, you don't care about how much their EPS is and revenues, right? Because it's not that. But if you look at their last 6 earnings days, their performance after earnings, down 0.5% last quarter, down 6% the quarter before that. And then the previous 4 quarters, up 21%, up 28%, up 5.8%, and up 18%. So there's been some volatile moves. Would not be surprised to see another swing. Wouldn't be surprised to see down 11%, which is the implied move, or up 11%. That's VKTX. I'm just trying to think of some of these other names I'm watching here. Obviously, Tesla and Google have implied moves after the close. I think they're both 7%. Nothing that really steps out or steps out of me. The other names that are moving, I mean, iRobot's running today. It's just names I don't. You look at when I was looking at Open, right? I just can't wrap my head around those names. Beyond Meat's going, or it's actually off its highs. Rocket, which had been rallying already. So to me, if I'm looking at a name that I think has the best opportunity for continued upside, it's Cardlytics. As I wouldn't even call it a meme name, right? To me, it's like just it's just good timing for folks to look at some names that maybe are undersold, or excuse me, oversold and undervalued, and then it just brings attention to Cardlytics. That's it, folks. Let's have a great day. I'll be back on audio later. Should be a fun earnings after the close. Rock and roll.